Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, thank you all for being here today and for your time. It's been very helpful. This week, the Senate will likely vote to repeal the 1991 and the 2002 authorizations of use of military force against Iraq. Now, one of the amendments considered was whether to replace the 2002 AUMF with an authorization for the use of force against Iranian-backed militias in Iraq. Now, that vote failed, but I think there is an important issue here that needs to be addressed. Now, despite the likely repeal of the 2002 AUMF, the U.S. still has forces in Iraq at the invitation of the Iraqi government to train, advise, and to assist Iraqi forces. We also have forces in Syria conducting operations against ISIS. Now, given Iran's continuing malign activities in the region, our forces are at risk of attack from Iranian-backed militias, and in fact have been attacked by those militias more than 80 times, including just last week, resulting in the death of a U.S. contractor and injuries to U.S. service members. So Secretary Austin and General Milley, a brief yes or no, please. Do you agree that the President has both the authority and the responsibility under Article 2 of the Constitution to protect the United States and our forces from attack and the threat of imminent attack? Again, yes or no. Secretary Austin.
I do, Senator.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, thank you. But despite the more than 80 attacks by Iranian-backed militias, the United States has only responded with force just a handful of times. In my view, that's unacceptable. Secretary Austin, earlier you told my colleague Senator Cotton that our last retaliatory strikes against IRGC infrastructure, it was against infrastructure. Now, does that mean a building or a warehouse? The question behind the question is really, why not target the IRGC leadership or officers directing these attacks?
Thank you, Senator. We can be more specific in closed session, but it included a headquarters element building and also storage sites where key munitions were being stored and other capabilities were being developed, and there were people in those facilities.
Thank you for that. The point being that we need to reassert deterrence, and our current responses don't seem to effectively do that. Weakness only breeds more aggression. Weakness is provocative. And if we only respond when they kill an American, they'll continue attacking, hoping to injure as many as possible. There's no reason why this administration should not respond more forcefully should Iranian-backed militias threaten U.S. forces in Iraq or in Syria. It's important for the American people to know that it's not because the administration doesn't have the legal authority to do so. This administration simply seems to lack the will. So, Secretary Austin, another issue that needs to be addressed is the department's use of taxpayer dollars to facilitate abortions. Now, I join my colleagues in publicly denouncing the policy changes, unfortunately made at your direction, to authorize uncharged absences and travel pay for those seeking abortions. So the military is not a place for social agendas. So I'll ask you here, will you rescind those abhorrent policies?
What I will say, Senator, is number one, this policy does not fund abortions. And I want to be clear on that. This policy provides access to non-covered reproductive health care. And as I said earlier, almost 1 in 5 of our troops are women.
Very aware, but I understand that ultimately it's taxpayer dollars that are for this uncharged absences and the travel expenses related to that. I understand your point, but I just still think that's not the right answer. And until these policies are rescinded, I'm going to also have to consider holds against DOD nominees in solidarity with my colleagues. Mr. Secretary, you can fix this. The 158 holds, in essence, that are there. You could fix this in nearly an instant. So I would encourage that. Shifting gears a bit,
sir, I would encourage you to help us make sure that we have the leadership in place to lead our magnificent force.
And I would agree with you. I completely agree with you. And you can fix that nearly instantaneously with a change in policy. So thank you. We understand, Secretary Austin, that the committee has heard from most of the combatant commanders so far earlier this year, and I've asked each of them about foreign military sales and how that's working in their areas of responsibility. And each have said that the process is not fast or flexible enough to meet our partners' defense requirements and that we're at risk of losing our security of partner of choice status to China. So what efforts are the department taking internally to streamline the FMS process? And are there issues that you think need to be addressed by Congress?
A year ago, I put together a Tiger team to address this specific issue, and you're right. I mean, there are a number of our allies and partners who clearly want to see capability be provided quicker, and I fully understand their concerns. So we're doing everything we can to identify log jams and work through those to speed up things. Industry's coming out of a 2-year trough there with because of COVID, as you know, sir, and you know, it'll take a little time for industry to catch up, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure that, you know, the bureaucracy is not slowing things down, and we'll continue this work. But I don't disagree with you that this is something that that requires consistent focus on, and we're going to do that.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you both. I yield.
Thank you.